How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my Jungle Yorick and Top Yorick 14.19 patch preview summary, whatever you want to call it. I've been doing a lot of testing on PBE, and this is going to be your one-stop shop for what to build for the next patch. I think it's going to be a good patch for us. It's a very good patch for us. And I've got some new bugs, some new items, and some new runes I want you to test out. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, hit that like button. And I want to first point out that we peaked at 495 LP on career, dude. We hit 495 on 130 MS. And then I tilted all the way down. Don't look at my match history. It looks terrible. 495, that's all I want you to do. So I had a blast climbing career. It was so much fun. It got really hard towards the end of it. I don't know what was going on, but no one wanted to play long games. Everyone wanted 15-minute surrenders, and I'm sitting there trying to drop my maiden on the side lane, and my team's already AFK at the towers because they lost the early game. So I'm realizing end of season push is not a good time for Yorick jungle, but we'll see how we go. I'm going to start up the stream as well as soon as the new patch hits. So you should see me live tomorrow. If you haven't already, join my Discord, and I'll post and let you know when I'm going to go live. Anyway, let's get started with the runes and items. So items-wise, the standard Ninetales build for Cleaver, Shojin, Liandry's is unchanged, okay? You can still build this. It is absolutely fine. Don't think it is nerfed, so it's unplayable. No, it's nerfed, it's weaker, but it's not unplayable. Black Cleaver lost 15 AD, so it went from 55 AD to 40, okay? That's the only hit it got, okay? So it's not that big of a nerf. The damage output is still very nice, okay? It is not stronger than Spirit of Shojin against squishy champions. Spirit of Shojin still does a lot of damage. The problem with Spirit of Shojin is now they've converted its ability haste into basic ability haste. So that basically means it only affects your QW and E. It does not affect your ult. So where Cleaver will give you 20% ultimate CDR, Spirit of Shojin will give you a big fat whopping 0. So if you build Spirit of Shojin and you fight level 6 and you die, you're not getting anything off your ult. An important thing to note as well is the components are no CDR. There's nothing here that gives CDR. It's all durability. So if you're building this and let's say you're level 6, you've got yourself a tunneler plus a ruby crystal and you die, that's a big, you're going to get that full ult cooldown. And unless you're running Ultimate Hunter, you're not getting anything off that. And you're going to lose your entire early game spike because of that. Whereas if you're going Cleaver, instead, Cleaver gives, you can get 10 ability haste off this. It's not a lot, but it's still 16 odd seconds off, and it does matter a little bit. If you want to rush the spear first, you can, but I would probably suggest you just go Black Cleaver first into Boots of Swiftness. Swiftness are definitely the MVP boots of the patch. Their patch went their gold cost went down. I think it was 1100 or supposed to be, but it went back to 1000. Merc Treads, if you're versing heavy CC, is absolutely fine. If you're versing heavy AD, just go Ninja Tabbies. Otherwise, I think just default into Boots of Swiftness. If you're versing anything that stacks armor, like really stacks armor, just delay your boots, buy only tier 1, and then delay your actual boots purchase until after your Liandry's and then get Sork boots. It is so good to run Sork boots with Liandry's, but you can't do it before you buy the Liandry's. It just doesn't work. You don't have enough magic damage to warrant the Sork boots purchase until you get Liandry's. So if you're going to go Cleaver, Shojin, Liandry's, this build is absolutely fine. The only other change that Liandry's got was it went from 90 AP to 70 AP. Now, we give two whopping craps about that. We don't give a shit. That took, what, 12, 13 damage off our E? That does nothing. We don't give two craps about that. It's the best buff of the patch because everyone else got nerfed and we got buffed from it. So I'm happy with that. There's no issues at all. Now, as for Spirit of Shojin, it got a little bit of extra AD. It got a little bit of extra health. So it went from 40 to 45 and 400 to 450. But like I said, you lost all that CDR. So if you want to build it first, you can. I would probably tunnel that into my next suggestion of a build, which is this one here, which is bringing back Grudge. Now, Grudge lost its lethality. Instead, what it got is it got its 30% armor pen back, which is good. That's great. This Grudge is actually identical to Season 13 Grudge. It's the exact same. The only difference is it's the slow doesn't work on anyone that's above 50% health. And it cost 200 gold less. Grudge is cheaper than what it was last season. Like, it blows my mind. It's so much better. It's fine that the slow works below 50% health. Yeah, it would be great if it didn't, if it worked all the time. But Dude, we used to love Grudge last season, and it's 200 gold cheaper. There's no reason you wouldn't be insta buying this. The only problem with Grudge is you can't build both Grudge and Cleaver. That's the main problem. So in that event, you'd have to go for the Shojin first into the Grudge, and then you can build whatever you want. I just put Leandrews here as a third item. Remember, Leandrews isn't a must buy. You generally only build Leandrews if you're splitting Maiden and they have a tank. There's no reason to build Leandrews otherwise. If you're versing a Vayne top, don't build Leandrews. There's no reason for it. It doesn't do anything against squishy champions. As a third build, this is the build I think is probably going to have the biggest comeback in Yorick history. I think Trinity Force is an item that has been sleeper on Yorick. People don't like it because it's not lethality, and it's kind of a weird middle between lethality and bruiser. Like, it gives a lot of damage, but it doesn't give a lot of health. Not compared to what something like Stridebreaker would or Sundered Sky used to give, right? But Trinity is so sleeper OP on Yorick. And what's happened this patch is everything has been brought down to 40 AD. So Cleaver lost 15 AD, is at 40. Spear of Shojin lost 10 AD, I think, and it's at 45. Trinity Force was already at 45. Trinity went down to 36. Trinity lost 9 AD. That's it. It lost 9 AD. It lost a little bit of attack speed. I think it was 3%. It got 33 health, and it got 5 ability haste taken off it. It probably got the least impact out of all the bruiser items in this entire patch, right? Trinity is GOAT. Especially because the Spellblade effect isn't banking on how much AD you have. It's your base AD. It banks on your level. So if you're playing top Yorick, Trinity is such a GOAT right now. Because it doesn't matter how much AD gets lost in this build. Trinity doesn't give a shit about that. Trinity just wants to know what level you are. If you're over leveled, Trinity's going to be doing the work for you. Now, to pair onto Trinity, I'm going to talk about Hullbreaker. Hullbreaker lost 25 AD. So it went from 65 AD and it went to 40 instead. And it went from 350 HP to 500 HP. Instead, what they did is they converted the tower damage ratio to scale more of health and less off base AD. So it actually does more damage to towers late game. And I think the trade-off early is not a lot. You're a bit lower early, but I think in my math it was around about level 8 or something, level 9 or something, that you ended up getting more damage out of the new Hullbreaker. Now, are you going to be weaker in a 1v1? Yes. Everyone is, though. It's not just you. So you can't look at Hullbreaker and go, wow, 25 AD, that's shit. It's terrible. It doesn't work that way because everyone's copping a whack. Everyone's being kneecapped, not just you. And when you want to hit towers as your main goal, Hullbreaker is sitting there going, dude, I hit towers stupidly hard. Trinity's going, I hit towers stupidly hard. Just bloody build me. I'd give you everything you want. Add on to that, Grudge works against towers. I feel like this build, in terms of pushing towers, in terms of just raw damage against even mobs, even against large monsters, epic monsters, sorry, so like Baron and Dragon, this build is nuts. And I don't see why this build won't make a resurgence. I see this build to be probably one of the top 3 builds in Yorick of next patch. I'll bring up some items that I think along the way will be better. I'm probably not going to cover lethality too much, but I'll give you a standard lethality start because a few of the lethality items did cop a whack. So Profane Hydra copped the 10 ability haste whack, so now it only gives 10. So you're probably looking at going that into opportunity into Edge of Night. Edge of Night got 200 gold increase to it at no compensation. It's just a flat nerf. And Opportunity got a slight reduction in lethality and a slight reduction in AD, and the movement speed I think got 1% off. And instead, it now has a 10 lethality passive instead of scaling from 2. So the sooner you get lethality, the better, really. That's the way it is. Because you're going to get 25 lethality off the go. Whereas before, you would have had 20. So there are pros and cons to it. I think this build is absolutely fine. I think this might be what Slog runs. But don't look at me for your lethality builds because I'm not going to give you something that I don't play. If you want to know how to play lethality, that's where you watch Slogdog. Slogdog knows the lethality ins and outs. I'd just send you there any day of the week. Now, the only other item I really want to talk about is this bad boy. Axiomark is probably the strangest item in this game. And I think it's so strange, dude. Axiomark didn't get any changes as far as I know. I think it might have got one small change, but it didn't get hit at all, right? Now, the first thing to note is Axiomark is now bugged on Yorick. Hallelujah, it's bugged in a bad way. So I don't know why I say hallelujah. Axiomark will not work on a maiden that is already out if you buy the item, okay? What that means, what does that mean? So that means if you have Axiomark and you summon maiden, it will work on that maiden. But if you have maiden already and you recall the base and you finish Axiomark, it will not work on that maiden that's already out. Doesn't matter if you kill 5 people, it won't work on that maiden, and it won't work on the maiden afterwards for those 5 kills. You have to have the item and then summon maiden, and they are linked together the second you buy that item and do that combination, okay? So that's the first thing. I've already tried to get it fixed. Hopefully it'll get fixed soon. Now, this item does something that other items don't, which is it reduces your ult CDR without using ability haste, right? Because it has this passive where if you get a kill or assist within 3 seconds of that person dying, it reduces the cooldown of your ult by a certain amount. Now, it was previously 10%, now it's 15% as a base, and the scaling off lethality is reduced, right? So, if you're only going to build Axiomark, which is probably what I would suggest as your only lethality item, you're going to have 18% ultimate reduced cooldown every time you get a kill. So, if you split your maiden off in the side lane and you kill 2 people, when that maiden dies, you got 36% off her CD, and then it factors in your ability haste. Or it might be the other way around, I'm not too sure. But either way, late game, I was having 30-second cooldown ults on PBE because I would get 2 kills, my maiden would die, and then my maiden will be on a 30-second cooldown. Now, that's kind of insane. And what that does is it lets you build items that don't give CDR and instead build items that give other stats. So, like, for example, you could build this Trinity, which gives a little bit of CDR, Hullbreaker, Titanic Hydra. That is full damage, tankiness, durability, split push. Right? This is, I want to split push. But then if you put an Axiomark on the side, you can just fight to the death as much as you want because this is going to reduce your cooldown of your maiden. You're not relying on ability haste, you're relying on this. So you probably would need to group if you're going to do this kind of style. But bear in mind, it reduces off having damaged someone. So this actually has a very nice interaction with Liandry's. If you ace someone or your ghouls are split pushing or whatever, and you're constantly proccing this Liandry's burn on someone, if they die within 3 seconds of being triggered by Liandry's, guess what? You're getting that cooldown refunded by Axiomark. So I see it more fitting this build. If anything, I would think it's actually this order. So you would probably go Black Cleaver into Liandry's into Axiomark, or Black Cleaver Axiomark into Liandry's. Probably one of these two. The only problem with Axiomark's second is that it gives a lot of AD, gives a lot of damage, but it doesn't give any durability. And Spirit Shojin got a lot of health now. It used to give 300 health, now it gives 450. Like, that's a lot of durability. And considering how much I build health items, I think it'll probably end up being something like this or that I build this patch. All in all, I think it's a very good patch. I don't see it being a bad patch for Yorick. In terms of other items, Bloodmail's a nice 6th item. Strikebreaker's copping a whack between the knees and he's getting bloody amputations while he's there as well. Unfortunately, he's losing the movement speed on physical damage. He's losing 5 AD and he's losing 5 attack speed. This item is, as far as I can see, I wouldn't build this item. Unless you really like Tiamat in the jungle, then you could probably build it. But I think at this rate, it might even just be better off just going Titanic. Like, it just seems so weak in comparison. I just wouldn't waste my time on it. I think it's 450. No, I still think it's average. If you do want to keep up with Strikebreaker though, there's a player on NA, I've talked about him before, VNicky. His OPGG is VNicky, #Nicky. And he builds Strikebreaker pretty much with Phase Rush exclusively. So if you ever like to play Bruiser Yorick that doesn't drop Maiden, he doesn't rely on Maiden either. He basically plays off just having ghouls and Maiden if she's alive with him back behind him. And he doesn't drop it. He just plays split push, team fight, perma farm. It's a very different way of playing Yorick, but you might prefer it as well. So I definitely check him out if you like Strikebreaker. Steric's Gauge is a good item if you need tenacity, or if you're just basically the front line. If you have an 80 carry top, you pretty much have to get this at some point because you need to be the tank. GA as the last item is always MVP. I always advocate for it. Dead Man's Plate got a nerf and a buff. So the passive effect went from 40 movement speed to 20. I don't even know why it's there at this point, because 20 movement speed is like kind of average. It's not too bad because it got compensated with a little bit of health and a little bit of armor. So I think it's probably a good item. It's quite cheap too, 2,900 gold as well. So don't pass it up if you need armor. Hollow Radiance is going to make a comeback this patch. I'm calling it right now. Right here. This is the first person that called it. Mainly because Abyssal Mask is getting nerfed. Abyssal Mask used to give up to 100 MR. I don't know where I was thinking. But right now, they took away the bonus MR that it granted, and they reduced the health on it and gave it a little extra MR. So now you're looking at 400 health at 40 MR versus 300 health and 45 MR. I think this is better if you're dropping Maiden. If you're playing Teamfight, Abyssal Mask is probably better. But that's only if you need MR. Bear in mind, if you're building MR because you need MR, I don't see why you wouldn't just go Koenig. Like, Koenig is just so goddamn overpowered. Like, if you need MR, just go this. 80 MR and 400 health, and you get a massive shield. Like, what the fuck is this item? Screw this. You don't need this. You need this if you need resistance. So you'd only build this if you're like got massive AP in your team. If in all other intents and purposes, you just go Koenig. It's so much stronger. So in light of that, let us have a chat about runes, because runes are the other thing that changed this patch. I'm going to advocate for 2 rune pages. This is rune page number 1. Now, because there's so much ability haste being taken away of the items sets, that's where Ultimate Hunter comes in handy and Legend Haste comes in handy. So I think picking both of these up is very, very good. It's going to cover a lot of your weaknesses that you're missing. If you're low elo or anything below Diamond, I don't think you should be taking anything other than Halo Blades or Conqueror. Or Comet. I think you can take Comet if you want. But any of those 3, do not take Phase Rush if you're below Diamond. You're not going to use it. It is not good. It is only useful in higher elo when you need to go in-out because it's too dangerous to go in and commit to fights. If you're in lower elos and you're playing Invade a lot or for whatever reason, just go Halo Blades. It's so much stronger than any other runes. If you want to run Conqueror, you can. There's nothing wrong with Conqueror. Just make sure you abuse the Conqueror bug and run this setup here. If you're not running Axiomark, you can swap this. Well, if you are running Axiomark, sorry, you can swap this to this if you want, or whatever you want. You can swap anything. Only other thing to note is that Nimbus Cloak got a buff. It went from 5 to 35% movement speed to 12 to 35% movement speed. That means your Smite is giving you 12% movement speed now, which is kind of nice, actually. That's really nice. Nimbus Cloak is really good with Ghost. So if you pair it with Ghost, it's very good. I've had a little bit of a mind change about Flash recently. I think Flash is a lot better than I gave it credit for. But Nimbus Cloak is so good with Ghost and Flash. Whichever is your preference, just take it. If you're going to run the Sorcery Tree, like I said, just run something along the lines of this. Keep in mind as well that if you're playing jungle, Transcendence is going to cover a lot of the ability haste that you're going to lose in items this patch. So I really, really like this page. This page with Axiomark, I think, is super fun, super fun. I think it is so good. It's probably my new favorite page. Just a fuck around page. It is so much fun to run. If you aren't running Axiomark or you're not confident, just run the normal Ultimate Hunter. You're not going to lose that much damage by not taking these ones here. And this will give you pretty much all you need. Now, if you're playing top Yorick, I think this is absolutely fine to run as well, but you probably want to grab Demolish instead. If you're playing Split Bush Maiden later, you can run Ultimate Hunter as well. But top Yorick, you're going to be starved for CDR this patch, boys. I don't know how you're going to get around it because you're not going to have much CDR at all. You don't get a blue buff. You're losing 10 off Profane if you're going Profane. You're getting 0 off Shojin now as well. So many items that we normally build don't give ability haste or anywhere near as much as they used to. So everyone, you're going to struggle this patch. It's going to be a test of wills, I think. As far as I'm concerned, this should be a good patch for Yorick. The only champs to really look out for is Jax top. I think he's going to take off big time. So ban Jax. You can verse Irelia. Don't dodge Irelia. Just stop trying to play into her with ghouls. Instead, you need to learn the wave mechanics. Seriously, go watch Slog Dog's video on Irelia. He posted about 2 weeks ago. There's me yelling at him half the time because I thought it was funny. But he destroys Irelia 2 games in a row. And it is a winnable matchup. Stop dodging it. It is winnable. You just need to play it out right. And Slog's the GOAT at playing out Irelia matchups. But apart from that, I hope you guys are excited with this one. It's going to be a good patch, I promise you. If you do like the video, please do sub, hit the like button. And I will catch you guys in the next video. I'll probably do a stream sometime this week. Patch hits tomorrow, so we will go to town swinging. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.